The city of Tromsø, Norway, was wrapped in the icy grip of December. The sun barely rose over the horizon, leaving the town in an endless twilight of snow, fog, and pale lights reflecting off the frozen river. Laura Hansen, a 28-year-old history researcher from Oslo, had recently arrived in Tromsø to study the town's rich past. She had rented a small apartment overlooking the river, where the snow-laden mountains created an ethereal backdrop. The first few days were uneventful. Laura unpacked her belongings, arranged her notes, and familiarized herself with the local archives. She visited old churches, libraries, and historic streets, recording everything meticulously in her notebook. But on the third night, something strange happened. As she worked at her desk late in the evening, a faint sound echoed from the apartment door, a soft, deliberate creak. Laura paused and looked toward it. The hallway was empty, probably just the building settling. She whispered to herself. Yet the sound returned every night, always at the same hour, a rhythmic, almost purposeful echo across the creaking floors. Determined to understand the odd occurrences, Laura spent the following day combing through the archives. In a dusty box of documents, she found a series of notes about a family that had disappeared from Tromsø in 1953. The Larsen family, John, Martha, and their 4-year-old son Daniel, had vanished without a trace. Neighbors reported seeing a dense fog surround their home the night they disappeared. And despite extensive searches, no one had ever found them. That evening, as Laura returned to her apartment, she noticed the familiar creaking from the door again. But this time, a shadow appeared, faint and flickering along the wall. It was humanoid but faceless, an outline that seemed almost semi-transparent. Laura's heart raced. She froze, unsure if her eyes were playing tricks on her. "Who's there?" she asked softly. The apartment remained silent, but the shadow lingered, moving slowly closer. Her fear battled her curiosity, and despite every instinct telling her to leave, she remained seated, observing it. Over the next few nights, the visits intensified. Sometimes the shadow appeared near her desk, sometimes at the window, always motioning towards something unseen. Laura, now intrigued rather than terrified, decided to dig deeper. She spent hours poring over old newspapers, finding reports of children and families who vanished mysteriously in Tromsø's long winters. One night, as she was reading by her desk lamp, the shadow drifted closer. This time, a whisper echoed through the room, chilling and delicate. "You found us," Laura gasped, her fingers freezing over the pages of her notebook. She whispered back, I want to understand. Who are you?" The shadow seemed to hesitate, then slowly coalesced into 3 figures, a man, a woman, and a small boy. They were faceless, semi-transparent, yet the shapes were unmistakably human. A shiver ran down Laura's spine. Somehow, these were the Larsen family she had read about. The boy moved slightly forward, gesturing toward her notebook. It was as if he wanted her to listen to their story. Laura began to write, her hands trembling but steady. She recorded everything. The father's voice and memory, though silent, seemed to resonate in her mind. The mother's gentle movements, the boy's small gestures. Each entry told of a happy life cut short by a strange, almost supernatural fog that had claimed them one winter night. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Laura realized she was no longer afraid. The shadows did not intend harm. They only sought acknowledgement. They wanted someone to remember them, someone to preserve their story. By dawn, the shadows began to fade, receding toward the corners of the room. Laura blinked, and the apartment was empty again. The fog outside had thickened, and the river gleamed pale under the early morning light. Determined, Laura published her findings in a local journal. The Invisible Family of Tromsø, the Larsen Mystery of 1953. The story caused a stir in the town. Some dismissed it as imagination. Others nodded knowingly, claiming to have felt the same strange presence in their own homes. Laura didn't mind the skepticism. She knew what she had seen and heard. In the following weeks, she often returned to the apartment, sitting by her desk late at night, hoping for another glimpse of the Larsen family. Occasionally, she saw the faint outline of the boy by the window or the mother drifting across the room. Sometimes, a whisper of the father's voice carried through the quiet. "Thank you for listening." Laura had learned something profound from the experience. The Larsen family was never meant to harm anyone. They existed in a liminal space between memory and reality, waiting for someone to remember. Through her writing, She had given them permanence in a world that had long forgotten them.